Florida homeowners, it's not a question of if, but when the next hurricane will come. No matter what Florida weather has in store, Storm Smart has products that protect every opening of your home while improving the look, feel, and function. From durable aluminum shutters, high-impact windows and doors, to our innovative storm catcher screens, products that enhance the beauty of your home and keep your family safe. Because Smart is complete hurricane protection, and Smart is peace of mind. Call Storm Smart today for your free in-home consultation.
When your power goes out, remember just how inconvenient your life can be. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have power when you need it. Our Generac generators automatically provide backup power after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Get a free 10-year warranty with the purchase of any air-cooled generator. Call Generac Generators today. Generac Generators. Life is primitive without power.
Streaming from the ABC Action Weather Center in Studio A, this is Dennis Phillips Live. Brought to you by Storm Smart. Protect every opening of your home. And by Generac Generators. Life is primitive without power.
How you doing, everybody? It is 7:30 on this Thursday evening. Welcome to Dennis Phillips Live. If you're watching on the spot, Tampa Bay 66. Could be watching on antenna 66.1 or cable Spectrum 17, Frontier 23. I'm still hearing some rumbling that it may change from 23 to 17 at some point. This all boils down to the Tampa Bay Lightning in a sense, because as y'all know, the spot is the new home of the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you'll no longer have to pay to watch Lightning games. If you're a Bolts fan, you'll be able to watch it for free over the air, OTA, over the air. So you buy one of those little antennas, you pop it into your TV where it says antenna, you scan for channels, and boom, you got yourself all the Lightning games, preseason games, almost all the regular season games in the first round of the playoffs. So that is maybe 21 hours of programming. So there were other things that needed to be filled, and voila, DPL is one of those. So every weeknight, unless there's a WNBA game, which there might be tomorrow, or a Lightning game, obviously, that will preempt DPL. But we're always going to be on streaming, and we're always going to be on social media. So thanks for stopping by. As always, it's been a very busy week with Erin, with the Southwestern Gulf, with thunderstorms. You know, let's go and do some hellos, because, again, what I always encourage folks to do, you watch on TV and you follow along on social. Because if you're on social, you can see all these little conversations that go on amongst you, and I catch some of them. Sometimes I don't. Quite often we have our enforcers that are in here, self-proclaimed enforcers. I have not deemed anyone an enforcer, but they're there. And if anyone's misbehaving, and when we're talking misbehaving, it's talking politics, getting nasty, you know, causing some issues or hitting on each other. So, so sometimes we even have banned if it's just getting a little bit too amorous in there. It can happen from time to time. It hasn't happened often, but it does happen from time to time. But usually what we encourage is the Q&A. This is a very interactive forum. And I try to answer your questions, especially when a storm's coming. So what often happens, and you guys know this, is how many of y'all who live in Florida are watching in Florida, and I get it, there's a lot of folks who are outside of this area. There's a storm out there, whether it's in the Gulf or whether it's Atlantic or whatever. And you have relatives up north, like in Chicago or in New York or in Jersey or in Michigan or in Ohio. And they're watching national media, national weather publications, and all those places are saying, Florida's going to die. It's going to be terrible. And more often than not, it isn't. Sometimes it is, but more often than not, it isn't. So they're calling you, and you're like, They're like, why the heck haven't you evacuated? Why haven't you left? And you're like, because our local people said that we don't need to, the emergency operator. No, but I'm watching the Weather Channel, I'm watching somebody else, and you're all going to die. So I know that happens. As a matter of fact, that's why a lot of folks have found local Mets, local meteorologists, myself included, because they're trying to ease the stress of your family and friends up north. Well, in this particular storm, Erin, it's going to be a flip-flop. It's a reversal because there are no issues in Florida. There's going to be some surf, and I think probably maybe 10 to 12-foot waves coming into the Atlantic side sometime next week. But you've got Floridians who may be worried about some folks in the Carolinas, and even more than that, the Northeast. Because why? Well, look at the map behind me. Nope, this one, right? It doesn't show what happens after 5 days. So all of a sudden, people start thinking, well, how close is it going to get to Nantucket? How close is it going to get to Massachusetts? How close is it going to get to Cape Cod? I get it, because those are areas that can have near misses or some pretty nasty weather as a storm scoots by them. So let's just cut to the chase on that and go ahead and show you some of the long-range spaghetti models. And we'll be answering lots of other questions, and doing some hellos as well. But at the end of the day, there it is. Look at what we have short term. So the question is going to be, look, when we get to this point right here, and that's pretty much latitudinally even with the Bay Area, and that is when we are expecting to see a turn. Now, let's talk possibilities here. Let's say the models all the way on the left are accurate, all right? It's still going to turn, but it's going to turn closer to the Outer Banks. But it's still going to be racing northeastward. See that? So measuring as the crow flies from where you are here to where you are here, it's not even close. So the point is, if this is going to have any impact on the U.S. whatsoever in terms of any kind of squalls, and I'm going to be the first to tell you, I don't think it will. But it all boils down to, interestingly enough, not so much about what's going to happen here, because, guys, this is going to happen. This ridge does break. There's no way around it. A strong front's coming in, and this storm will find that, and it's going to start racing and accelerating in that direction. The bigger question is going to be, what happens in the short term? See how all the models are going more west-northwest? Well, the current track is due west, right? Due west is the current track. So I would say the bigger question would not be necessarily where it's going to turn, but how far west will it go before it starts to make that turn? And that right there is the key to the forecast, believe it or not, for the Bahamas or the Carolinas. Not here, because that's not going to change. What's going to change is how far west this goes before it starts turning more to the west-northwest. Now, at the end of the day, again, when we go back and look at the spaghetti models, tropical storm force winds extend 60 miles out from the center of Erin. All right, 60 miles out. So, and this is something that I always do when we have a storm that threatens our area. It's like basic math, guys, right? So with Helene and with Milton, Helene as an example, obviously surge was a huge issue for our area, but there were hurricane warnings in effect, and there were tropical storm warnings and whatnot. And those are given by the Hurricane Center over a larger area. But the reality of it is 9 times out of 10, let's say you have a hurricane warning in an area, and hurricane warnings extend 35 miles out. All right, you're going to be quizzed on this. Hurricane winds extend out, let's say, 35 miles. And the storm is 60 miles offshore, all right? I'm not saying that with this one, but we're doing a simple equation for you here. Hurricane force, let's say Storm K, Tropical Storm Karen. Or no, let's do Hurricane Karen. Doesn't exist. This is an example, all right? Tropical storm force wind, no, hurricane force winds extend out 35 miles, all right? And the center of the storm is 60 miles offshore. Are we going to get hurricane winds here? What do you think? Hurricane winds extend 35 miles out. The storm is 65 miles offshore, or 60 miles offshore. Will we get hurricane winds here? We will not, in basic math. So, same thing with what we're looking at here. If tropical storm force winds extend out 60 miles, which they do, and by then maybe closer to 100 miles because it's going to get bigger. But if they're 80 miles from the center, then they're going to be in the fringe of the tropical storm force winds. And that's what I think is going to happen. I think Puerto Rico, I think the Virgin Islands, I think all of those areas will be on the fringe of the tropical storm force winds. Now, as you see, or about to see, right here, this storm is still moving due west at 17 miles an hour. So if it stays due west for a little bit longer and doesn't start to feel that tug north, two things will happen. The islands will get a bigger impact, and the west side of these spaghetti models will be more accurate. Why is that? Because instead of it going like this, it'd go like this. And that will still turn, but it's going to turn closer to the coast. All right? So there you go. That is what we're starting with. I'm going to answer some questions on social right now. Again, if you're watching on TV, log in on your phone to my Facebook page or log in on your computer, get involved in the Q&A, and we'll be back with the extended forecast for Erin coming up in 90 seconds. All right, first break. No, Erin is not coming to the East Coast, Pamela. You are correct. How you doing, Valerie in Riverview? Good to see you. I think Puerto Rico is going to be just fine, Alexis. I do. It is going to be going away from Florida. Dottie, Mary, thank you for the break reminder. Yeah, Pamela, Bermuda, you might very well be right. Bermuda might be the one that's a little bit more. Bridget's like, I went with no. Bridget, you are correct. Yes, there is a hurricane or a tropical storm, Karen. I suspect we will get to the K-storm, so we will see it. Okay, so Gina, you know what? I'm going to mention what Gina just said when we come back out of the break in 38 seconds. Because Gina just questioned what I'm talking about. And it's, if Erin were to delay that turn to the north, impacts could increase, especially the Florida's east coast. Okay. That's a perfect segue in to what we're going to talk about next. All right? Thank you very much for that, Gina. Oh, boy, someone's saying I should be banning somebody. Oh, no, that's just the ban button. Never mind. All right, we are back in 10 seconds. By the way, I'm going to mention this actually on TV. All right, let's go back to this. Back in 3, 2. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live. If you're watching on TV, thank you. I appreciate it. So we just had a question from Gina, and she was seeing some stuff online that was saying if the delay of that turn a little bit to the north were to occur, that would that increase the risk to the east coast of Florida? It's a great question, all right? And again, it has everything to do with this map right here, like we just talked about. So if it were to delay and get maybe like this, let's just say that could, and by the way, it's moving due west right now. So until we see that change in direction, you can make the argument, what if it stays put as is? So let's do that. So if it goes like that, your area would probably be like this. Look, guys, it is going to run into the trough. There's no way around it. That ridge will break. So if it goes even as far west as Puerto Rico before starting to feel that tug, it will still not impact Florida. You got it? It will still not impact Florida. There will be surf. Cowabunga. There's going to be some surfers out there. But look, the only way that this storm could impact Florida directly is if that ridge doesn't break. And I just don't see that happening. I just don't. I see no possibilities of that happening. It's weather. We know how hurricane season goes. We always like, yeah, well, what if? I'm not going to play that what if game on this. I will play the what if game on a west motion until Puerto Rico, even though I think it curves later tonight for that matter. But when you're looking at the track later tonight, when you see the W change to WNW, then there's the beginning of your turn. If it stays W for another 24 hours, then yeah, it's going to go more west. And it would have a bigger impact on the islands. But it still doesn't impact Florida. Now, it would be closer to the Carolinas. So at that point, all of a sudden, maybe they get a little something out of it. Not tropical storm force winds, because even if you look here, that's still easily 120 to 150 miles offshore. I mean, is it possible there could be, worst case scenario, is it possible there could be gusts of tropical storm in the Outer Banks of the Carolinas? I'd go with that if it were to stay west for a prolonged period of time. But guys, look, there is the Europeans map. There's been all these people online saying, oh, look at the euro, it's trending back to the west. Okay, maybe the operational run did from time to time, but look at what we have here. So I'm going to go ahead and take this map full. Look at the euro. We can actually go through time with it. So watch this. There it goes. Well to the north of the islands, by the way. See that? And then look at the acceleration, and boom, it starts to go. Look at that. Look at that move. Look at that move to the northeast, right there. That's when it finds the real break in the ridge. The trough starts to pick it up, and boom. Now, yes, look, there's one strand that goes over the Delmarva and over Cape Cod, and that is the one farthest to the west. So again, guys, this totally makes sense. If, and that's what that one is showing you. So there it is. If it were to go west and stay west for another 600 miles, then yeah, maybe it impacts the Outer Banks of the Carolinas directly. But that's just not going to happen. It's just not realistic. So out of the 51 members of the ensemble, one is showing that. That's 2%. And that is the odds. And boy, isn't that ironic? Because that is the odds that we've said historically of a storm where Erin is hitting the U.S. 2%. And one run shows it. So that's just coincidental, but that is kind of ironic, isn't it? What's the difference between ironic and coincidental? We used to have a discussion about that. And let's keep going. One more thing. I want to show you the Euro AI. And then we got another break coming. Here's the Euro AI. The Euro AI was very bullish on more of a southerly track. This does get the farthest west, does get closer to Florida and right into the Outer Banks of the Carolinas. So look, you've got all of these, 50 of these, all curving away, and you got one that goes that way. So there you go, folks. When it comes to that, you got to play the odds, and the odds are overwhelmingly in our favor that that is not going to happen. All right? Is it impossible? It's weather. Of course it's not impossible, but it certainly isn't likely. All right, I'm going to answer some more questions online, and we will be back because there's more behind this one, right? We've talked about it, so that'll continue as DPL continues. And yet again, I'm long, as always. Yes, Mike, so I am saying there's a chance. It's a slim one, but it's a chance. All right. How's it going, Jamil? All right, so Charlie's wobble was profound, Chase. And now wobbles are another story entirely, because when you're trying to predict a short-term motion, a 1 hour motion from point A to point B, look, even in these big tracks, there will be wobbles, but you're not going to notice them because you're looking at the big picture. But wobbles are another animal. And by the way, wobbles are unforecastable, period. You cannot forecast a wobble. You just can't. Ain't nobody on earth that can forecast a wobble. All right, we have another 30 seconds. Why is it that I always go long? This show goes by so fast. Taylor wants to know, can we take a look at the model showing the high breaking down? Yes, we will show you that. I will show you that late. Thank you, Don. I appreciate it. Very kind. All stars go to Feeding Tampa Bay and Children's Miracle Network. When do we get our first cold front? I would say third week in October. All right, we are down to the last 7 seconds. Let's go back and look again. In. Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live. We've been chatting on social. Again, if you want to be part of the conversation, log in to Facebook or Instagram. And that's where a lot of these conversations are going. By the way, tonight is a big night here at ABC Action News. It is Thursday night. It is our treat night. This is something that's going on for 31 years. So this station has been here 31 years. And back in the day, when we first started, well, we actually were a TV station in the back of a Levitt's furniture store in Clearwater for the first year. It's a true story. We were actually, there was selling furniture in the front, and we were in the back. True story. And they were building this building 30 years ago as it was happening. So once we started, there, Marty Tucker and Brendan McLaughlin, they were the anchors. Wayne Shattuck was the chief meteorologist. Drew Soysher was the sports director. And they started this tradition called Treat Night. And every Thursday night, we would have a treat night. Now, back in the day, I hate to be that guy. Oh, back in the day, but I'll be that guy. Because back in the day, it was a high-end thing. Drew Soysher rented out a Good Humor truck one time and brought it over to have ice cream. I mean, it was a high-end stuff. And those days are gone. It's just a shame. But tonight is my treat night. So I brought treat nights, and I have to put that out right at 8 o'clock because the natives get restless if you do not put out treat night at the correct time. It is just a true story. All right, so I want to go back, and someone had asked a very good question right here about show us that ridge breaking down. All right, well, here you go. So here's a look at the GFS, and your ridge are the highs, all right? So when you see the highs, I'm going to be so heavy. This show goes too fast. So right in here, you have highs across there. See the high and the high and the high, right? Well, watch what happens when we go through the next 5 or 6 days. Look at the cold front coming down. See that cold front? Let me show you. See that cold front right there? By the way, Sean, 540 line behind it. There's the cold front. That cold front will eat away at the ridge, and that will create the opening. So, watch it. Got the cold front coming down, and look what happens. The ridge breaks apart. It provides a path for it to go and accelerate close to the Canadian Maritimes. The GFS is close to the Maritimes. But still, see how close it is to the Carolinas? Farther offshore from the Northeast. So I'll say it again. I'm less concerned about the Northeast than the Carolinas. Might get a little bit of there's a little something, not a big deal at this point. Now look, here's the Euro. Comes up, gets close, and then starts to accelerate. So yes, we will keep our eyes on the Outer Banks because historically the Outer Banks are absolutely an area that would be the biggest threat for a storm like this. And here's the Euro AI, same thing, Eastern Bahamas, Outer Banks, and it will accelerate. And it does get up to Canadian Maritimes. So yes, the Canadian Maritimes will be something that will need to be monitored. I believe this will stay far enough offshore from the Outer Banks that it will not be a major problem, but surf will be an issue. I posted something. There could be 50, 60-foot waves well offshore where the center of this major Category 3 hurricane is going to be. One more break, and we'll be back with our Heat Lightning round. I'm just so bad at timing this out. I am. No flooding. Holly, we're not going to get any rain out of it. Forget flooding. We're not getting any rain. Like literally, no weather. I'll say that when I come back. No, and these are going to be all questions. But no weather when, oh man, Kathleen, I just got my big box of rule number 7 stuff I ordered today. Like 3 t-shirts, couple of hoodies, some tanks, and I ordered another 6 hoodies. So I'm very excited about that as well. I'm just going to answer questions for the last 2 minutes. I got it. My second break is the one I always go heavy. My second break is the one where I don't get out until like 49 or 50, and I should be out at about 44. That is my problem. How you doing, Bahia Del Mar? Nice to see you, Aggie. I have a kitchen timer. I would never use them. Some people sent kitchen timers. I just don't. We have 26 seconds left. Thoughts on a flight leaving Puerto Rico Saturday morning? You'll be okay. I don't know when when they would shut down the airport. I don't know how the airlines handle that. The weather won't be terrible, but it's going to be close. It's a close call. I would try to change it to Friday if I could. It's not going to be terrible either way, but if it does stay west, then it's a little dicier. That's the big if. All right, we are back for the last 3 minutes of the show. A lot of people have been asking. Again, no weather from Erin in Florida. Nothing. We are not expecting rain. We are not expecting wind. We're expecting zilch, bupkis, nothing. All right? The Carolinas are still in play if this storm were to go a little bit more to the west. Someone asked about my rule number 7 stuff. So I just got a big box today, like 7 things that I ordered, because I order them as well and pay for them because the proceeds benefit local charities. The link is on the top of my Facebook page. Go to the top of my Facebook page, you'll see it. It's Fourth Wall. So if you can Google Fourth Wall Rule 7, it'll show up as well. But there's so much new stuff, hoodies, T-shirts, mugs, everything, and the proceeds benefit the local charities. So check it out. So again, like I said, no weather for Florida. The Carolinas, it all depends on how far west it goes, and I'll show this one more time. This was, what people were asking about, because for Puerto Rico, if this were to stay west a little bit longer, then they could get tropical storm force winds out of it. It turns into a hurricane tomorrow. It turns into a major hurricane by Sunday. At least that is the forecast. All right, let's see. Why does the NHC designate a tropical storm icon with an eye and the hurricane does not? That's just what the icon is. A hurricane is a solid filled-in line icon-wise. The tropical storm has a hole in it, has a center in it. When will it go by the Bahamas? Next Tuesday to Wednesday-ish. All right? Eastern Bahamas, more than likely. Eastern Bahamas. Okay? What is following this storm? Man, So I will show you right here. Okay, you've got this area in orange that is going to be, as we call it, rain with a name. Not going to be much to it. Oh, my heavens. That is Erin, but quickly, there's the projected path from the Hurricane Center. See that significant turn? Look at the spaghetti models. Zoop, and then boom, northeast. And then the dry air is gone, which is why it's created a nice little environment for itself. And we are to the names Erin. So in the southwestern Gulf, that is an area that is just going to provide some rain. At this point, that's all we are looking at. And lastly, so I will show you really quick on TV, but check back on Facebook. So look, there's the first one. The second one, the models are not as heavy on it, maybe a little weak something in the Gulf by the end of the month. All right? So we're going to continue for a few minutes on Facebook. Folks watching on TV, have a great night, and we'll see you on the next edition of DPL. Okay, made it out. Barely. Okay. Where's Bozo Bob? Is Bozo Bob back? I did not really see much of what he wrote yesterday, but it did make me laugh. Someone's saying, is this Ryan? I don't know what that is, but that looks like spam to me. So Sandy posted a link. What is that? What is that link? I'm not going to click on it because I don't trust doing on any links, but makes me wonder what it is. Yeah, the whole Publix cake thing, look, that's a Florida memes thing, and I think it's funny. Look, personal opinion, I don't know. Everybody's got an opinion on stuff. I personally, it's just me, I personally don't see the harm in making cakes that have hurricanes on them. That's just my opinion. You know, I'm not representing the station, that's just my opinion. But there are other people who have a different opinion, and I'm not the person in charge of that, so it's not my call. But the people in Florida memes wanted their hurricane cakes. So they've got this petition thing that they're trying, and it's making me laugh. I mean, it is. I think it's kind of funny that they are so dedicated to try to get Publix to make cakes that have hurricane swirls on top of them. And I'm not going to lie, when they were making them, I bought them. Every time I bought one. They had the big cookies that had the hurricane designs on them and the big cakes, and I always bought them. And I think a lot of people did. Now, I will tell you, in my opinion, I do believe that levity is an important thing when you are tracking storms. I'll go ahead and go. I'll go out on this limb, all right? I do believe that tracking a storm and waiting for a storm is an incredibly stressful thing for most people. So they're looking for ways to provide a little bit of levity. And I do that even in my coverage, and you'll see that sometimes. And there's a guy who runs a blog about TV stuff, and everything about him has to be serious, and that's not the reality of our world. People don't want serious all the time. Sometimes they need something to take their attention off of the serious. Sometimes they need something to make them smile. It isn't all about being serious all the time. And that does not sacrifice credibility, by the way, if you're just trying to lighten the tone a bit because people are nervous and scared, right? So, in my opinion, when a storm is coming, there are times where I'll try to lighten it up a little bit, try to ease the stress a bit, and I think a lot of people thought that those little hurricane cakes were a way to do that. And there are other people, and Publix corporate believed that they did not agree with that, and they thought that it was disrespectful for folks who were impacted by storms. And look, again, that's not my call, that's theirs. But anyway, the folks on Florida memes, it's a big thing now. They have been all over the place talking about, as Floridians, we look at things a little bit different. You know we do. In general, our perception is a little skewed when it comes to tropical systems. We all know it, all right? And it's probably our defense mechanism, because what are you going to do? Are you always going to be freaked out, or are you going to try to lighten it a little bit and make the best of it and do what you can and have a smile from time to time or have a joke from time to time? That's my personal opinion. That's just my opinion. No, everybody else has their own. But for me personally, I did definitely buy those cakes. So anyway, look, Bozo Bob is back. So how you doing, Bob? All right, so Vincent, 18Z GFS goes ballistic on the wave behind it. Yeah, so Vincent, you are correct. And now we all know the 18Z in general has a propensity to going crazy on things. We also know that the GFS also has a propensity for going crazy on things. It is a notorious bias that the GFS has, okay? But I'm going to go ahead and call it up. This is a chat. This is different from me posting something and saying the worst case scenario and saying, oh, look, this is what's going to happen, or oh, look, here's what the model, and you don't really show any context. You just say this is not a forecast. That's a bunch of nonsense. That is useless. But what I'm going to do now, since you just asked me, Vincent, I'll call up the 18Z. I've not even looked at it. But we all know the GFS is notorious for going crazy with systems well down the road, and it's wrong. Last year it was wrong. There were 462 times that it predicted a named storm. There were 17. Do the math. It's wrong almost always past 10 days. So here's your 18Z, and I have no, and by the way, just so you know, the Euro was showing something similar a couple of days ago. And it is coming up in the heart of the hurricane season. And there's the one, I can already see it right there, a wave coming into the islands. You can see, you know what it's going to happen. You know what it's going to do. Not even looked at it. There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. And there it is. Okay, so whatever. That's the GFS, and that is 10 days out. And we all know how inaccurate 10 days out is. But, as I said, the Euro AI has backed off on it, but it is showing a similar wave. Check it out. Here's the Euro AI. Next Tuesday, next Wednesday. Now look down in that same area that the GFS was showing. There it is. There it is. There it is. And it keeps it a little bit offshore, but it does develop something. So what does that mean to me? That means to me that that's something to look at. That is not impossible. Look, every wave that comes off of Africa from now until October, there's a chance it could develop. And the ones that come off a little more to the south have a better chance of developing quite often because they run into less dust and they have a clearer path. So when I said what's behind, and I was talking about it on TV today and I kind of teased it, that's what's behind. And that would be toward the end of August. And would it be a news flash that we would get a hurricane somewhere around the southeast at the end of August? No, it happens all the time. So there you have it. But right now, the only game in town is Erin. Let's look and see, and the thing in the Southwest Gulf. Here, let me go ahead and call that up real quick and see if, first of all, let's see if the new 8 o'clock advisory is anything different. Yeah, it's up to 50% now. Here, I'll go ahead and show you it. Let's go ahead and let's call this up. All right, so there's a look at the area in the southwestern Gulf, all right? And there's the write-up. If you can't read it, we'll read it to you. Recent geostationary, that's GOES, and microwave satellite imagery, that's the system that was going to get shut down but didn't, indicates that shower and thunderstorm activity is showing some signs of organization with a small area of low pressure located over the southwestern Gulf. An earlier Air Force recon mission found the system lacks a well-defined low-level circulation. The low is forecast to move west-northwest to northwest across the western Gulf during the next day or so, and environmental conditions appear generally favorable for further development. A tropical depression could form before the system moves inland over the northeastern Mexico or southern Texas by late Friday. So there you go. So potentially, as we said yesterday, it could be rain with a name. Not a lot of development, nothing really outlandish, but it could be a significant rainmaker for northern Mexico or southern Texas. So there you have it. I don't know if we are on TV tomorrow. Stand by. I think there's probably a WNBA game, but let me find out. Let me ask. You could look on the TV, actually. And scroll ahead to tomorrow at 7:30 and see what it's showing. I think it's a WNBA game. They're not picking up the master control. Probably because it's treat night and they're waiting out there, waiting desperately for the treats to come out. Yeah, there's no pickup. But anyway, so we may or may not be on TV tomorrow. We will be here, as always. So that's it, guys. I got to go put my treats out. Have a great night. And like I said again, no impacts on Florida other than some surf. The Outer Banks of the Carolinas will still keep an eye on, but it all boils down to, as we said, just how far west this system goes before starting its trip north. So again, if it's farther west, it will go further west here. If it starts to make, and by the way, look how tightly clustered these models are. Pretty impressive. By the way, let's see if we have any new ones. No, same. Actually, no, this is a new one. So, look at the ones on the west side. Now, and here's what human nature is. Oh my God, these are just going to continue a straight line right into the coast. That's kind of human nature. You see these? But that's just not what will happen. They may be west here, they're still going to hit that trough. So the difference is, maybe it goes like that, which is still Each degree of latitude or longitude is 60 miles. So I don't know, that's still a couple hundred miles offshore. So it would still be, maybe some squalls to 30, 35, and that's about it. So unless there is a dramatic change or turn, the impacts for the U.S. will be negligible. That's it. All right. Have a great night, guys. Treat night, and I will see you on tomorrow night's edition of Dennis Phillips Live. Thanks for stopping by. This is a special report that one person thought, oh yeah, they could get in. And last second, they could just start spamming. No, did not work that way. Sorry. So banned for life. So there you go. So, okay, that was all. You guys have a good night. We'll see you.